ลังจากนั่งรถไฟนั่งรถบัสมาล่องเรือแล้วทีนี้เดี๋ยวเราจะไปนั่งเรือค่ะล่องแม่น้ำไทม์กันเมื่อกี้ซื้อตั๋วโดยสารไปแล้วก็ประมาณคนละ500 บาทถ้าตกเป็นเงินไทยมาต่างประเทศนี้ต้องมีกระบอกน้ำเนี่ยคือเจ้าหน้าที่ขายบัตรตอนนี้เขากำลังเอาเรือเข้าเทียบท่าขึ้นเรือมาแล้ว
Doesn't appear that we've got to wait on the wharf at Tower Bridge. Now it's at this point as we Most importantly of all, of course, we don't mind if you're going downstairs to the... Yes? Okay. But I must warn you, I'm not a professional guide. Please do. Sir Lawrence Olivia. This building here to your right was once said to be by King Charles the ugliest modern-day building he'd ever seen in his life. And us knowing King Charles said, although they never actually got to live there because they were found traitors to the throne by King Henry VIII and executed. At one time, the sloop that was to the Honourable Company of Master Barons. Archway there on your left-hand side that's coming into view at the stern of the Wellington, that's the westernmost boundary line to it. This actually marks the water's westernmost boundary. If you look to the right behind it, underneath the trees, you'll see the two silver dragons on the stone. So for instance here, we have Temple Gate. Down at Tower Bridge, we have Tower Gates. That is, of course, you can get them out of those little silver wrappers. Formerly the headquarters for OXO. Now, laws on the River State, you can't advertise the name of your company or product along the banks of the Thames, because it is in fact a royal highway. OXO cleverly got around this law by incorporating the name of the products into the spire at the top of the building. It's now been converted into pretty much... Then back over to our left-hand side, another red brick building, built in the Palladian design. This is the statesmen that have been educated, such as Lord Asquith, Sir Anthony Eaton, and of course Sir Winston Spencer Churchill, before going on to further their educations at Eton and Harrow, respectively. At this point of the river, though, we approach a place where there's three bridges very closely together. It is in fact the closest of any three along the banks of the Thames. This first it has no top. These are the remains of the first ever railway bridge to have spanned the banks of the Thames, the old Alexandra Railway Bridge, designed by our famous engineer, Sir Isambard King of Brunel, to surface the London Chatham railway lines. They took the top of the bridge down because they thought it unfit to support the weight of modern-day trains. However, they couldn't remove the columns because it would have undermined the foundations to the final one of the three, which is the Blackfriars Railway Bridge. As we pass through though, take a glance across London skyline. You'll see it's ever changing. All the old historical buildings and places of real character are now being dominated by luxury skyscrapers, office blocks and apartments. A very good example of this, ahead of us here to your right, that large glass structure to resemble a shard of glass. At 1,019 feet high, it's the tallest building in Western Europe. and it's made up of blocks of offices, a shopping centre, various hotels, bars, restaurants and luxury apartments, and also situated. You can go in there and see such magical exhibits. Hours a day. 10 years ago they spent nearly £30,000 on a jar of poo. The building is absolutely free to enter, and after walking around it for about half an hour you do tend to realise why. 165 feet high, easily remembered for being a full foot for every day of the year. The dome of St Paul's weighs 64,000 tonnes and is the second largest unsupported cathedral dome in the world, the largest being that on St Peter's in the Vatican City of Rome. If you do actually ever visit St Paul's, written on the designer Sir Christopher Wren's tomb in Latin are these words: "If you seek a monument, look about you." Wren designed over 50 churches and cathedrals in the city, and of course was his masterpiece. Then back over to our right, you'll see the white building with the thatched roof on top.
Oh yeah,
This is in fact the American dream of an American actor and director from Boston who went by the name of Sam Wanamaker.
Yeah, this one, yeah.
He raised the funds and designed the plans for the project, but sadly he died a couple of years before its completion. So his daughter, the actress Zoe Wanamaker, you may know her from programmes like Love Hurts, My Family. I think she was also in a few of the Harry Potter films as well. She took over the project, but the globe, believe it or not, will be 29 years old. Approach roads to it are so narrow and hard to find, it became the least used and loneliest of all of London's road bridges. Approach the bridge though, look over to the bottom right hand corner, you'll see a flight of stone steps leading down into the river. They're famously known as Wren's Steps. That's where Sir Christopher Wren used to walk down daily to build a waterman's vessel of old and then cross over to the construction site of St Paul's Cathedral. They're more commonly known these days as the Southern Causeway, and there's a royal charter upon those steps on your right, so they can never ever leave you be removed. Also to our right, behind the workings, you'll see a small brown brick building.
ว้าว
And it was in the
ตึก
original
นี้เขาบอ
structure
กว่า
where famously
400 เยีย
Shakespeare and his plays used
400
to
ปี
get changed
โอ้ย
to act out plays in the old globe. Look very closely to the bottom left-hand corner of the sign. You'll see written in black. It says, "Take a look back underneath it to your left. You're going to see coming into view from the other shore. There's a glass balcony overhanging the river. Now, believe it or not, we can see it." As we pass through the bridge though, immediately the monument stands 202 feet high and it's set in like an easterly direction. It was struck the exact spot where the great father said to us in the 80s. Tradition was broken, official building was built. It's this weird shaped one that gets wider as it gets taller. That's been nicknamed the Wonky Talking. It actually hasn't even got a name. It's just known as number 20 Fenchurch Street. But as is commonplace of all the glass buildings in London today, it's got a viewing gallery at the top. You see that large open glass space up there with a balcony, and there's hundreds of people walking about? That's their viewing gallery. And it's a bit different to the other. Free to go up. Absolutely free. All you need to do is book online in advance at the skygarden.london. But here's another tip for you. Directly behind that building is an even taller one that dominates the skyline. That's called 22 Bishop's Gate.